I've been living and loving, paying the bills, keeping things real, man, you know the deal. But when it's time for me to unwind, I gotta go someplace where the sun can shine. And there ain't no better place than out in the country. There's gold in them hills and I'm gonna find it. It's a sight to see, you can't believe how the color of gold makes you lose control. Well, there's gold in them hills and I've got the fever. And there ain't no other place that I'd rather be. My friends come down and enjoy hanging out, and the kids are knee deep in the sand by the creek. Yeah, we're chasing the dog, let's put another log on the fire. There's times like these that make it all worth the while to me. There's gold in them hills and I'm gonna find it. It's a sight to see, you can't believe how the color of gold makes you lose control. Well, there's gold in them hills and I've got the fever. And there ain't no other place that I'd rather be. When the night comes down, we're all sitting around, playing guitars under the stars, singing about the nugget I've been dreaming about. And I say even the picture of it weighed 5 pounds, and it's right under the next rock, I do believe. There's gold in them hills and I'm gonna find it. It's a sight to see, you can't believe how the color of gold makes you lose control. Well, there's gold in them hills and I've got the fever. And there ain't no other place that I'd rather be. No other place that I'd rather be.
Ta-da! Welcome Wednesday. Welcome everyone. It is Wednesday. It is the 17th. Wednesday the 17th. Let's see what's going on here. Patty's Adventures. Good evening. You got a banana split. How nice. Oh, Mike Pung is in the chat room. So if you guys got any questions on Mike Pung in the chat room, you have to take advantage of that tonight. Herb, hello, Herb. Paul Mishak, hello. One more pan. Hello. Cool Arrows Gold. Welcome, Terry Curry. What's going on? Let's go through this stuff really quick here. Today is National I Love My Feet Day. It's National Thrift Shop Day. It's National Black Cat Appreciation Day, and a whole bunch of other stupid national days. I don't even know why they do that stuff for. Did you know? Let's see, what is this? I don't know what this is. 1998. Oh, on this day in 1998 was the Monica Lewinsky scandal with Bill Clinton. You guys remember that? Let's see if I got something in conjunction with you guys. I don't know if this will play or not. This is going to be a test. I want to test something out here. Let's just see if this will work.
All right, everyone, gather around. It's time for Gold Fever Radio. Oh, shut up, Hillary. Why don't you try to go ring up an election or something and let me listen here. And on your way out, pass one of those cigars. I love those cigars. I really do. I really do.
I don't know if you guys can hear that.
That was a pretty good show. Now, hi. You know when Hillary's going? I listen to Gold Fever Radio. I really do. I really do. And smoke big cigars. Hi. Let's see now. Where did I put those big cigars? Hey, Hillary, where are those cigars at? Well, she's looking. Let's kick back and listen to Gold Fever Radio. Yeah. Bet you Monica knows where those cigars are at.
Anyway, I don't know if you guys
Let's
can hear that.
Where did I put those big cigars?
Oh, crap.
Hey, Hillary, where are those cigars at? Well, she's looking. Let's kick back and listen to Gold Fever Radio. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Bet you Monica knows where those cigars are at.
Okay. Guess I got to pause that there. It'll keep looping. Anyway, I don't know if you guys hear that or not. Let's see. Okay. So Daniel Strickland. Hello, Daniel. Mudslide Slim. Oh, you heard it. Thank you, Mike. Okay. That was just a test. It says there's background music, so I didn't know if you could hear that in the background there or not. Let's see. Famous birthdays today: David Crockett, Mae West, Robert De Niro, Sean Penn. Okay, those are birthdays, and a bunch of other stuff in history we don't care about. Uh, all the will stuff has been sent out, so you guys that participated in the prize wheel, all that stuff was sent out. Some of it they rejected in my envelopes. They didn't like it, so the rest of those went out. There's like 6 more of them that they rejected. They went out in today's mail, but everything else went out beginning of the week. So all that stuff has been mailed out. Let's see, new Patreon, Mark Marabella. I'm sure I butchered that, but welcome, Mark. See, the outing for Patreon is up in Meadview, up there on the mining claim up there, November 11th through the 13th. Detecting dry washing and, of course, our New Year's extravaganza, December 28th, 211. And it is storming here. It's thundering and lightning, so hopefully we don't lose power. If we do, when we get it back, then we will come back. Anyway, so we got a guest tonight with us. Let me get appropriate here for the guest here. You know, I got to be the part here. See, I got one of these cool hats. You know, it's rare to get one of these cool hats. So if you guys have one of these cool hats, you gotta wear it proud. See, I don't have no dust on mine. I got to try to keep it clean. If I take it out in the desert, it'll get all dusty, and I may not get another one. So I got to keep this one nice and polished and clean. Anyways, with that to do, let's bring a guest on in here. Ta-da! Mr. Mike Pung himself.
Ta-da! Look, Ma, no hands.
Hey, you got a hat like me.
Hey, how about that? We must have been dressed like we had different mothers together.
With different, how that saying goes, different mothers. Something like that.
Different mothers together, yeah.
So, why don't you, I'm sure everybody knows who you are, but in case those that don't, why don't you introduce yourself to everybody?
Yeah, I'm Mike Pung, co-inventor of the Gold Cube and the Banjo Pan, and just about anything else I can think of that's going to make my job easier. Yeah, we've been playing with the Banjo Pan and the Gold Cube and all that good stuff since 2010. Is
that what it was, 2010?
2010 is when we sold our very first Gold Cube, and the Banjo Pan's only been out there probably about 6 years, but yeah, it's we started over a decade ago. It's we should have had a decade party, but I think I was passed out somewhere.
I think I got number 1 on the Gold Cube.
Well, there's a guy out in I think he was in South Carolina, Brian. I can't remember his last name. That's a shame. Poor guy passed away. Now I can't remember his name. But Brian Herbstreit. He said that he was the first one. So since he's not here, we could say you're the first one who got one that was still alive.
Well, actually, I got it from that. I thought it was, and that was David.
It's forget the last name day today too.
Yeah, he used to be the assistant caretaker out of Stanton, and then he moved to Lindquist, David Lindquist.
Okay.
Then he moved across the street, on Pat Keene's property, and was taking care of it. And I ended up getting a Gold Cube from him, and that was a long time ago. Remember the old clips that you had to clip onto those things? Oh
my God, that was. Well, I think we probably only had about maybe 25 of those that went out, and so that was obviously part of the first 25. That's for sure. And then we came up with a better idea.
Yeah, that's what I said. I had one of the original for the longest time. But, and then since then you've added Man, the trommel and God, I should have brought all that stuff in here. I got a banjo pan sitting on, it's in the trailer there.
Yeah, we added gold banker, and because we needed some way of not having to shake a bucket. I hate shaking a bucket. I hate carrying buckets. I'm bucket phobic. I think if I can do without a bucket, that'd be great. Now I'll carry my concentrates in a bucket, but it's going to have to be a really small bucket because there's not very many concentrates in the gold cube. But yeah, the gold banker, and then after the gold banker, we paired up with Gold Fox in Montana and started carrying the trommel. Anything to do the classifying for us, so we don't have to. That was the important part. Shovel ready. That's what we did. Made it a good government job. Shovel ready.
Yeah. So I've got the only thing I don't have. I've got the banker part on it, and I've got the trommel part on it. I got my trommel's one of the original trommels, and talking to him, Gold Fox, he said that he would fix it, make it the newer style, I guess.
Yeah, they had a hard rubber or a hard plastic ring in the middle, and material would get caught in there, and it sounds like you're trying to grind your rocks instead of passing them through the classified. I know I still got one of those as well. I'm just the boss. I don't get new stuff.
Yeah, I got the regular trommel, from Gold Fox, and I enjoy that. That's a slick little trommel.
It really is. I mean, we chose Kelly from Gold Fox because he was already making trommel, and someone who's got that much time making a particular device, they've had plenty of time to either knock themselves out because of poor quality or show that they've got what it takes and have a growing business. And Kelly definitely showed he has what it takes, and he makes a really good product. So really well representing the Gold Cube. So we appreciate him.
And you've been, I just noticed something. I'm not plugged into my modem. I'm plugged in on Wi-Fi. Hopefully, I bought this new thing, Starlink, because the old crap I had was a piece of, huge net, always darkened on me and went blank. But this one still says I don't have a good signal. But
well, you look like it's coming through just fine.
I'm not blurry anymore, people say. I used to be really blurry, so at least it took care of that, blurriness, whatever.
Right. I don't think you drinking had anything to do with us seeing you blurry.
Cheers.
Yeah, I'm not as thick as you drunk I am.
No. So, in the opening there, that opening song, there was two places you probably recognized. One was up in the Meadview area.
Yeah.
And one was up there on Gold Hill area where you found some nuggets at up there, some nice specimens. Yeah.
It's looking at the video of the intro, I was like, hey, I know that place. Wait a minute. I've seen that place before.
And I've told people that, kind of about where you found them pieces of gold. And I said, man, if he would have just went on the other side of that a little higher, he would have cleaned up there. Because the amount of gold that we found up there was unreal.
Well, that's the way it is. I mean, it's you got to stop somewhere, or turn the corner somewhere. I mean, you can't get everything, but sometimes you're the guy that led somebody there, and sometimes you're the guy that actually gets to clean up on it. So I've done my fair share of cleanups, and I'm glad that. What I got on your property, one of the nicest thing you can do to a property or a claim owner is when you find gold, let them know where you got it, because that's valuable information to a claim owner. So, I mean, I drew a little red X on a map and everything for you. So
you did, yeah.
So, yeah, I appreciate you letting us on the claim.
Well, I always tell people that I used everybody as dogs. Because it was probably about, I don't know, 6-7 years ago. Somebody came in and they showed me a handful of nuggets that he found, and I asked him where he found them at, and he wouldn't tell me.
Yeah.
Because he wanted to come back next year. I think they lived I don't remember where. I was thinking they lived in Oklahoma for some reason. But they wanted to come back next year, so he didn't want to tell me, but he just kind of said on the northern part of the claim. So
Yeah.
I kept going up there and hunted northern part, and all I was finding trash, and people would come in and say, "Where can I go?" I'd say, "Go up there someplace in the northern part of the claim." And people would go up there, and what'd you find? Nothing. What'd you find? We had a little outing. This girl up there found like 2 pieces. And it's like, wow, maybe we're getting a little closer, now. And then, like, when you come in and want to know where, I said, go up to the northern end. You found some nice pieces. Whoa, I think we're getting closer now. And then so I took this other guy, Tommy, up there, and man, and he found it. And he found the slough where it came off the hill. And man, the chunks that we pulled off. And Brad, I don't see Brad in here tonight. I bet you Brad pulled a pound of gold off of that hill.
Wow.
He doesn't.
Well, I pulled off under 10 pounds. Way under.
Well, I know he was pulling buckets out and running them over with the monster, and he had a hole dug down, a few feet down up there on top, but he was busting rocks, and they sound off on the detectors. He was hauling them home, and I saw him at least carry 2 big buckets out. And he came by camp and gave me a big chunk, and I acided it and got a bunch of gold out of it. And so I know he pulled a pound of gold out, So.
Yeah, and took it home, put in a dolly pot.
Yeah. And that hill, there's so many dig sites up there on that hill, it looks like a bomb went off.
Well, that's what happens. You either keep it a secret or else you aerate the hill.
Yeah. So I've been thinking something though. I've been talking to I forget his name. There at Sierra Blaster. You familiar with that?
Yeah.
Of taking some of that up on top up there where that rock was, where we're believing where kind of the loads originate from, and blowing some of that rock up there apart.
Well, a lot of that rock is already fractured. I wonder how a Sierra Blaster would actually work, because I think the Sierra Blaster needs some pressure to work against. And a lot of that stuff is fractured bedrock, and you can just about disassemble that stuff with a pick, So I'm not sure how Sierra Blaster would work.
Oh, well, that probably is true too. I was thinking if I just drilled into some of that rock and start, just clearing that out of the way, where I wouldn't have to take a spud bar up there or something to bust that out of there.
Well, a spud bar, you're going to need it anyway, because again, the fact that everything up there is fractured. I'm sure there's easier ways to get in there, but a spud bar, most spud bars that I've ever used, it's a job just to haul them.
Yeah.
I got a 7-footer that I only use that when I just absolutely have to.
Yeah, I know years ago that we walked up the top of Rich Hill. I carried the spud bar, and another guy carried the detector, and we were flipping rocks over. And so I know they're pretty heavy. Yeah,
but man, I'll tell you what, they sure will earn their keep when they're up there flipping rocks.
Yeah. Right, so next time you're out here, we'll have to go up there and move some rock up there on top, then where find out where it all came from. Yeah.
The last time I was through there was after the Pomona show, and we were going to John and Andy over there at Super Leech up there by Congress. And so we spent the night at your place. I hope you found that $20 bill under your seat.
yeah, I did. I'm glad you left the video. That was pretty good.
Yeah. It's like, if you can't find this, then I'll come back and get it next time.
Well, yeah, I didn't find it. You told me where, and I went and looked and said, I don't see it.
Yeah.
And then you sent me the video, and I thought, I would have never looked there. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, but we went to drop off a bunch of sulfides that we got from Nome back in 2018. And so dropped off a bunch of sulfides to get the gold out of that, and left there and headed up to Flagstaff. We got up to Flagstaff, went to the Cracker Barrel up there. Come out of Cracker Barrel, my God, our whole trip was plagued with mechanical problems. We come out of Cracker Barrel, went to start the shuttle bus up. The compressor on the air conditioner froze up and locked the engine down.
Oh man.
But we were having troubles with the air conditioner, so I'd already had a brand new air conditioner in a box in the shuttle bus just in case. Well, just in case was absolutely. So we ended up spending about 6 hours changing out the air compressor because it's underneath everything and back in behind the framework on the shuttle bus. But we changed out the compressor, and by 10:30 that night we were rolling again. We had transmission come out. We had, or not come out, the fluid of the transmission come out. 3 flat tires. We'd already replaced the air conditioning pump one time with a used one because that's all they had, and that's why we knew that there still could be troubles with it. But oh my God, just if it wasn't one thing, it's another. It's that Hee Haw. Remember that show? It's like room to spare and agony on me. If it wasn't for bad luck, I'd have no luck at all.
Yeah, if it wasn't for bad luck, yeah.
Yeah. Then we left. I was home for a day, and then we had to go to a family reunion. We got our Christmas in July up in Michigan, and I just had my engine rebuilt. There's only about 600 miles on the new rebuild. I only had 400,000 miles on it, so I figured it might have been time. So I just barely got out of the state and blew a spark plug clean out the side of the damn thing. So and here I am sitting on the side of the road with a spark plug hanging off by its little umbilical cord called the spark plug wire. And I had to find a machinist to get a helicoil put in. But yeah, it's just been one thing after another as far as mechanical breakdowns. I do not dare ask what next.
So I wanted to ask, how was the show then?
The show was pretty good. We had pretty good attendance. People are still afraid to spend any money, but it was good enough. It made it worth going out there. We also went out to up to Grass Valley. Up there in Grass Valley, Josh Renke has the ICNJ magazine now. Yeah. And he also has a prospecting shop up there. So we put on an event up there for him called Pros and Cons. That's when you have the professionals come in and help you through your concentrates. So pros and cons. So we did that and did some mining and had a good time up there before we went to Pomona. And we got into Pomona a day early and got to go see Pat Keene there at his place. Got a tour of the Keene engineering area, so that was kind of cool. And then did the show there in Pomona, and it was pretty well attended. Being that it was in the middle of the summertime and everything was so darn hot, it was actually a little better than I thought it would be, but not as good as I had hoped.
Did your friend, did Jeff go out?
No, Jeff didn't make it out there this time. He was a one out and back with all he's got. Really doesn't make very good sense for him to make the trip like that. So he stayed home this time.
Did Cash go out?
Yeah, Cash came out. You see his magazine, ad in the magazine there? Yeah. So we actually watched that magazine get put together. We were there when they were putting that magazine, getting the final, the draft, and I actually went out of my camping trailer and made that Golden Sand advertisement just because they had some space and they sold some space to Cash. So I went out in the camper and made up that advertisement that's in there. So that's my graphic artist work in there.
Well, hey, that's pretty cool. So then, speaking of that, before I forget, let me play their ad. Can you hang with us a sec?
Yeah. Let me rip, Data Chip.
Okay, we'll be right back, folks.
ICMJ's Prospecting and Mining Journal is the only monthly gold prospecting magazine published in the United States and is the most comprehensive and respected magazine about gold prospecting on the market today. With readers in all 50 states, it features articles on detecting, high banking, dredging, small-scale operations, assaying, basic geology, how to read the land, regulations, and more. Our monthly Ask the Experts column is answered by ICMJ's Prospecting and Mining Journal is the only monthly gold prospecting magazine published in the United States and is the most comprehensive and respected magazine about gold prospecting on the market today. With readers in all 50 states, it features articles on detecting, high banking, dredging, small-scale operations, assaying, basic geology, how to read the land, regulations, and more. Our monthly Ask the Experts column is answered by true experts. It features answers to readers' questions on processing, detecting, geology.
I don't know what's happening there.
I don't know either.
I keep hearing the beeping in my buds, like it's cutting out or something, and then every time I touch it, I don't know why it's like it's Bluetoothing on me, something weird.
Huh. Yeah, it was cutting out a little bit, but we're still getting the gist of what was going on.
It's just that they since they're a paid advertiser, I have to play their ad.
Yeah, give them their money's worth. That's right.
Yeah. ICMJ, if you don't have one of these magazines, best prospector magazine out on the market today, call them and tell them Gold Fever told me to call you and get a subscription to that magazine.
Yeah, they've changed the format of the magazine just a little bit. They've made a little bit bigger font, so it's easier for us old guys to read it, and changed some of the columning and broke up the paragraphs a little bit. So it just seemed like it was a big run-on paragraph back in the past, but it actually gives you a chance to take a breath if you're reading out loud.
Oh, I do. I noticed that. They went up like a degree or two. Yeah.
Yeah, not much, just enough to help out.
So no, I think I mean, I've got some of these magazines that's gone clear back, and so I was talking to I forget his name, the old guy, the original. Who's the
Scott?
original? Scott. About some of them old ones clear back where they were yellowed, and back in the olden days where they were the California mining, well, that's
right.
Yeah, is Internet California Mining Journal, and they just kind of changed that to ICMJ. But some of the old yellow ones, and what's really cool is you go back and you look at those old magazines, and what I'd like to do is look at like the equipment, because you can say what equipment stood the test of time that was then and still out today. Had to be pretty good, and how some of it evolved to where it is today. So those are really interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. If you ever get up to Grass Valley there, go see Josh and Sherry, and they've got a library in there of all the ICMJ, all the way back to the very, very first one. They've got a copy of all of them. They've got some that you can purchase because they're extra, but some of them all they got is just one copy. So I mean, it's a great archive in there, and it's available for the public to come in and check them out. But really cool in there. It's they got the whole system, or the whole facade of the shop looks like a mine shaft. I mean, old timbers and everything. So it's kind of cool.
Cool. That's so they moved it to. They moved the whole operation. Then you said.
Yeah. Yeah, Cash and I were actually on our way through in this spring. I think it was in end of March, first part of April, and they were just moving from the coast where it's always been. I guess it was close to San Francisco or something like that. But they had just loaded the truck and were headed on the way out. So we told them that when the truck got there, we'd meet them and help them unload. And so we worked like mules and got free pizza.
but I guess everything else is the same. Like Chris Ralph is one of their biggest writers. Guess he's still doing that.
Yeah, he's threatening to retire, and I don't think it's much of a threat. But he said he'll keep doing some more. I guess he's written over 300 articles for the ICMJ. So I imagine after 300 articles, it's a little tough to come up with a subject. Well, there's this yellow rock. We call it gold.
Well, I think that you just go back to some of the originals and kind of change some stuff around and call it new.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of old concepts that are now proven out and have become technologies. I mean, they become a way of doing things when before it was just a concept or what do you think if, and so a lot of those have, you've come a long way, baby, So it's those would be great great articles. There's always a lot of stuff going on in the mining industry. There's a lot of in the mining community, the claims and things that were being picked on by the government. I mean, there's always things going on that there's a lot of that stuff. Says Mike, you should write an article on the trials of inventing and marketing and a new gold product for the magazine. I once gave a talk to a club in Boise, and I asked them, what do you want me to talk about? And all they wanted me to talk about was exactly that. How did I take it from concept to a product and the patent process? So there is an interest in that, because most of the people in gold prospecting, they're I call them garage monkeys. They can do just about anything. I mean, they're very talented with their hands, and they come up with some really cool stuff. I get a lot of people say, "Hey, what do you think of this? Can you think it's marketable?" and stuff like that. And I'll help them through some things that I've already tried. I've got over 123 inventions, and I'm not marketing all of them. Some of them are just good ideas, and some of them are not. but they're all different ways of doing something. And some of these ways that people come up with in their garage when they're just monkeying around become like, this is going to be the new coolest thing type thing. So they're like, how do I take it from here into protection? Keep other people from stealing it. Where's a good place to get a patent? Someone says they're going to give me a patent, but it's going to cost me like $50,000, or it's like something stupid. And so there's a lot of questions out there. There's a lot of people that do want to know just what Terry Curry was talking about. It is a very viable subject, and a lot of us miners who like making our own equipment or come up with our own ideas and start actually doing something with it. There needs to be some sort of guidance, and anybody that wants to call me and talk to me about their idea, I'm more than happy to call and talk to you. Everybody that knows me also knows. There you go. Yeah. 405-650-0542. Just go ahead and call me. And everybody knows my character. They know I am who I am. I'm a man of my word. I'll sign a non-disclosure agreement, or we can just do a handshake. With me, you're protected. I will not steal your ideas. And I will help you go as far as you want it to go. And if you decide you don't want it to go any farther and you want it to die off, then I'll just never tell anybody about it. I've had a few people give me some dredging fixes, some things that they can do while they're dredging, and they said, I don't want anything for it. Here, just take it and see what you can do with it. So I get a lot of that stuff too. But anybody that has a big idea and wants to start doing, well, like I've done, made it my work. I don't have any other job. So that's if you want this to be something that you can live off of, there's mistakes I've made that I sure wouldn't like anybody else to make, and then there's some things that I wish I'd have known before I got started. That could have accelerated the process even more. So I've had a lot of people tell me I'm full of it, and I think it's good ideas. So, so if you need some of my good ideas, or at least some of my experiences to help you with your ideas, feel free to give me a call, and I'll help you as much as I possibly can. So we're all in this together, and we're all trying to make either a living with the gold or a living with our ideas. It's all about making a living. Sometimes making a living is nothing more than being sidetracked and entertained. What a great way to live.
Living the dream.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm enjoying all this go around and seeing everybody. The best part of the show is seeing everybody. There's a lot of people I can't remember your names, and I'm not sorry because I'm not trying to remember everybody's name, but I remember who you are. I recognize you, and most of the time, after about 2 or 3 seconds into the conversation, I can remember exactly what we talked about. I won't remember your dog's name either, so. But I remember. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, so why don't you tell us then your concept of how, the gold cube itself got started and your process, how you, brought it and then you added like the banker and the nugget trapper and the trommels and, the whole process from beginning concept. How come the gold cube ever come to be? What started that? How did that happen? Take us through all of that.
Right. The old saying is necessity is the mother, or actually the mother of all inventions. Basically what we did is we've got started mining, and my first pan of gold is in Chicken, Alaska, and I learned that gold's kind of tough to get out of the black sands from my first experience there, and it all kind of started there. And then I thought there was probably going to be some gold on Lake Superior, and one vacation we went up to Lake Superior, and sure enough, we found some gold up there. But it was really, really tough. I mean, it was worse than that stuff in Chicken.
We're digitizing. Did you see anything weird happening?
I saw on the screen.
Yeah.
I just saw that you went away and I filled the screen and then you came back.
Well, it was digitizing for a moment. It was.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Oh, okay. It was weird.
I'm just looking on my phone. I wasn't looking at the Facebook, but or YouTube or whatever that thing is. But anyway, once I realized that gold was even harder to get because all the aggregate and black sand was extremely round and aerodynamic and fell through water quickly, and the gold was so flat that it would flutter on its way down, and the black sands could outrun it, and I was just missing a lot of gold. I learned that the shape is a problem, and I had to change some of the forces in order for it to work. So one of the first things that I tried to do was figure out how to keep that stuff from floating away. Therefore, we came up with a G-force separator, and everything has to go underwater. And once it goes underwater, it no longer acts like a boat. It acts like an anchor. So we were able to get it underwater. Once we got it underwater, then we had to line it up, put it where we wanted it to, because we didn't want it fluttering around. So we made it with a G-force separator. We made it actually climb against the outer edge. Like you got the G-force separator as it comes down. Once it comes down, the force is going to start just bringing it to the outside edge before it shoots off the edge there. So once it goes over the edge, it's right at the edge and into the mat, rather than worrying about whether or not it's going to be able to find the mat through thick water. It's actually placed in front of the mat. So we started putting gold where we wanted it on purpose, and it made it easier for us to catch that real difficult gold, even on purpose. So once we got the gold into the mat, then we found another mat. We called it Vortex Mat, and that was kind of an accident. I found it on the tail end of a horse trailer. And you guys have heard me talk about the horse trailer thing. I was down there picking at this guy's Matt in his trailer, and he comes around and he goes, "Can I help you with something?" I said, "I'm a gold prospector." Like in the middle of Oklahoma, that's going to make any difference? And he goes, "Well, you're not going to find the right nuggets in that stuff there." So we got I got some of that, Matt. I sent some of it to Red, my partner in Colorado, and Red and I were just back and forth with ideas at that point. The gold cube was nowhere near being invented when we found the mat. The mat, when we put it at 1 inch per foot, it just filled up. It stalled out, and it was garbage. But accidentally kicked out a brick that I had. I had it sitting, and then all of a sudden it dropped down and went from 1 inch to 3 inches. And as soon as it did that, everything started working again. All the clogs started unclogging, and all the little cells started just rotating around. And so we kind of like little vortex. So I said, I told Red, I says, "Well, take that mat and set it back up again and put it at 3 inches per foot." So he did, and he says, "Oh my God," he says, "they're making little vortexes." So we just started, instead of calling it rough top incline conveyor belt or horse trailer mat, we called it Vortex Mat. So we just coined the term from what it was doing. So once we started getting all the G-force separator and all that stuff figured out, the angle of the gold cube became extremely easy because we wanted this mat to fit in there. Because instead of using eddies, instead of on the back side of a riffle, we wanted it to actually go straight up and down to where it was actually a vortex and act like quicksand, so the gold would sit down inside. So the mat was first. We found the mat before we even knew about that we wanted to make a gold cube. And then the mat kind of became the basis for the angle of the gold cube, which made it 15 degrees, which is really tough for just about anything else to handle without scrubbing out. Or like if you try to put a riffle at 15 degrees, it just leaves a big air bubble behind the riffle. So there were some problems with that very steep 15 degrees on everything else except that Vortex Mat, and it just excelled. It would clog up at 12 and it would start scrubbing out at 18. So we set it at 15 and it was beautiful. So just paying attention to how things worked, how we had an advantage of the forces that were going across it, just paying attention to what nature was telling us. And once we got all that put together, I remember we had this one that we had put together out of Red's oven. When Laura was gone away, he would fire up the oven. We'd use it as a vacuum mold. So it's kind of made the pizzas taste a little funny, but it's like, no, well, we had a pizza and we kind of left the wrapper on it. Whoops,
Yeah.
Yeah. So once we had the initial ones made, we had kind of an erector set square corner system that we could keep adjusting the angles until we got what we wanted. And I took it up to my family vacation, Christmas in July, and went up to Lake Superior, and I'll be darned, we finally found the perfect everything, that everything worked. And I remember it's because like, oh, cool, it worked. Oh crap, it worked. Now we're gonna have to come up with money and figure out manufacturing. It's like, oh no. But there's a lot of the old timers out there. They come up with something that really works well, and they keep it a secret, and they end up dying with it. And a lot of that knowledge and abilities and everything that could have been passed on, it gets lost. And when it gets lost, it's like it has to be rediscovered by somebody else again later on. So I didn't want to have any of this lost. I wanted to make sure that we shared it. I knew that we could probably make a little bit of money. I didn't figure that we'd be able to make a living for 2 households, but it worked out that way. It's just a question of sticking with it, not being afraid to advertise, which is a big thing. If people don't know where you are, then you don't exist. Yeah, advertise. I designed that ad too. I'm more than just a pretty face. Thank God. But
Yeah, no, it's true. All that. I mean, you know what? I've got a bunch of them back here. I got to sell them too because, man, you're in all these journals. I got a whole stack of them here, man. You're the uh, the old easy picking machines. I'm surprised nobody else has came out with a new version of that. You know, he
right.
died in the early '90s, I think it was, and nobody's ever, carried that on. But that was an awesome, type of machine for the desert out here. And uh,
Now that easy picking one, that's that one that's got almost like a land dredge, isn't it? Has it
well,
got a
yeah,
vacuum cleaner on it?
yeah, it vacuums and drops it right down to a dry washer.
Right, right.
Yeah, on a
Yeah, it's
tripod.
yeah. I remember I was trying to remember. You did a video on that. I remember seeing the
Yeah, yeah,
video.
yeah,
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 that's pretty cool. It's like dry land dredging with no
yeah.
water.
I can't believe, but I know that you're talking about the mat, and I remember I was in Stanton, and that what's his name? He was kind of a dullhead. Nobody liked him. Uh, he was making recirculators, and he had that similar mat in there, and he
Uh,
called it the miracle mat. And everybody
okay.
was trying to find out where this mat was coming from. And then across the street or down the road from Stanton, they had that old mining operation down in there.
Right,
And
right.
a few of us went down there, and they had all this conveyor belt material. And I looked at that and I said, "Well, shit, here it is right here."
It's the mother load.
And I took a chunk of that off, and I took it back, and he got freaking pissed at me that it
Oh
was supposed to
yeah,
be it was supposed to be a secret. And he said, "Well, that's not the same stuff, and there's like 3 grades." And
yeah.
I said, "Dude,
Nice
it's the
try,
same
buddy.
crap." Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah. Almost every post office in the country has that rough top incline conveyor belt because, like, when you go from a flat surface and then you go uphill, those little nubs on there are what actually makes it to where the boxes don't slide backwards. So it's rough top incline conveyor belt. Some people they just refer to it as rough top, but it's made to change elevations with your boxes and not have them slip off.
but I know there is a few different, like some are more square and some are more, they're little different types of that. But
Oh yeah,
and then
yeah. Some of them are a lot more plastic, and some of them are a lot more rubber. But
and there's
yeah, but it's amazing. We can take just about anything and catch gold with it. I mean,
yeah.
gold is heavy, sand is not. I mean, if once you I had somebody says, well, you got to have this, you got to have that, you got to have this. And I said, how about a flat board with a little bit of a warp in it with some sticks nailed on it? Well, you can't catch gold like that. It was fun. It was so funny because I did that, and and I caught more gold than he did.
Well, what the old timers use? I mean, burlap sacks out of potato bags or whatever, and uh,
Well, some of the hydraulic things they just like pegged in some logs. They use logs for
yeah,
for ripples.
yeah,
Yeah, so it doesn't take a lot, but to get real consistent, it takes a little bit more engineering in that. So the mat was already engineered for us, and then we engineered the gold cube around the mat. So
right.
and
So
it became a we don't have to invent everything. I mean, not everybody invents a steering wheel, and everybody uses them. So
no,
yeah,
but it is a very popular thing, and when I used to go to all the events and outings out there with the GPAA, and I was so surprised at the amount of people that have the cubes,
uh-huh.
whether there's the trommel or the high banker on them. And I remember being in, I think we was in Georgia, and there was a guy, his name was Mike something, and I was taking a shovel and just shoveling it on top of the gold cube. He
Ah,
got he got so irate at me that that's not how you feed this. He's contacting Mike, and I'm going to be banned from ever, you know. He reported me to the higher ups, and oh man, this guy
Oh
got
my God. Yeah, people
got
need to relax a little bit.
I did not do the cube justice, he said.
Yeah. Yeah, there's been a lot of people that we don't get any bad press from our users, but we'll get some bad press from someone who's got a machine they're trying to sell instead of ours. Their company or their cronies from the company are the only ones we get, bad. But I built the machine that I wanted to use, and I don't tell anybody it does anything absolutely amazing. I mean, I tell them what it does. In fact, they're always telling me that I lied because they said it worked better than I told them it would. And I says, well, under promise, over deliver. That's an easy one to live up to.
So let me ask you this here, because I know, and I do things differently. But let's just say on a lot of pieces of equipment, we'll use the cube to begin to as a good example too. Your top cube, your top tray is just flat.
Right.
Now on a lot of say high bankers, when they drop down from like maybe you got this, it'll drop spray down, it'll come down, fall through, and then go down to your sluice box. So you got that blank spot. The Keen's the same way. The Keen high banker, you've got the spray bars up on top with your metal coming through there that drops the material through. Well, underneath that metal, I put mined metal, because I believe why that's empty space. Let me use that space rather than just being plain and start to capture gold immediately. And I think that the other theory is you want a separator or something to separate it out before it actually starts. So, and I know the cube is, where you got that blank space. And I know there's a reason for that, but I'm just wondering, tell me your theory and all that.
Well, when we talk about the cube, we talk about 3 degrees of separation. The first degree of separation is because what will happen is any of your heavy stuff, if it's still closer to the surface, it's not going to be as easy to get caught. So what the slick plate does is the real light stuff is going to be higher than the heavies. So the light stuff will shoot across, and then the heavy stuff starts just hugging the slick plate. So it's going to lag behind. It's going to stay back a little bit, and then so all of that light stuff that's garbage that you don't want anyway, it's going to race ahead and get out of the way. So that lagging behind is going to make sure that by the time that the black and the gold and the platinum and whatever you got that's heavy, by the time it gets there, it's not fighting the same space as the fine lighter material is already evacuated. So it creates a separation. It allows the heavy stuff a chance to fall down, get under the laminar flow into the friction of the plate and the water, and hold back. And when it holds back, the light stuff races away and it's gone, and the heavy stuff has a chance to be to get a little more attention that way. So that's why slick plates are so important on a lot of areas. In fact, when I was playing around with the gold cube one time on Cape Disappointment, what I did was I did a slick plate on the water tray, and then a tray. The next one down was our Vortex Mat, and then I put another blank tray on there with nothing on it, and it allowed everything to separate back out again. So I did that for 3 different levels, and I had another gold cube set up that had no slick trays internally. It still had the water tray slick, but it didn't have any trays internally. And we ran from the same hole, the same amount of material in both of those 2 setups. And the one that had the slick trays all the way through it actually caught more gold. So it's all about alignment. It's about making the gold um, feel special, because all the rest of the stuff is gone, and now the gold and the heavies are able to be attended to a lot better and find them a place to park. So yes, with the slick plate, putting something on there. If you're moving around very fast, a slick plate is important. If you're crashing down from like the high banker and through the grizzly and just basically bouncing there for a little while, then punch plate and the miner's moss is going to be very effective for you. But once you start moving, once you've got some speed going, a slick plate becomes extremely important. My other company, Gyro Gold, we've got like 4 partners in the company, and the when we were on Dave Turn's Lost Mines up there in Meadview, I'm sorry, never mind, not Meadview, that was something else. We've been in Meadview a couple times with the bowl. That was Jeff Williams. But when we were up in Montana, Helena, Montana, on the Birdseye mine, on that Dave Turn's Lost Mines, we actually went into a slick plate at the end of his tailings, or where it would normally go off into the pond. We actually went into a slick plate, and then we filleted off the bottom part of the slick, where the contact with the slick plate, and just let all the rest of the material just fly right off the end. So everything high was garbage, and it was gone. And then everything that was like real low on the slick plate, that was your black sands and your fine golds and all the things that was going to shoot off into the pond. But now it's being diverted off into the gyro bowl. So we were able to pull gold that was going to go out into the pond. We pulled gold out of that thing every day. So this is gold that was going to be lost, and the only way we were able to target it was because of a slick plate. Getting it down where we want it, and getting it to where there's a separation between the lights and the heavies on the bottom. And so then we didn't have to run all the material. All we wanted to run was the good stuff, the stuff that had the gold in it. So it needed time to sink, and slick plates give gold time to sink.
Okay. So, I mean, like I say, I've like I said, even on Jeff's machine, and somebody even asked me that, once it slides down and drops through the high banker part, there's that piece right there that has nothing there. It's blank.
Right.
And somebody says, have you ever thought about putting miner's moss there? Absolutely, I've thought about putting miner's moss there. Take advantage of something, rather than just having it plain, start capturing that gold immediately. And, the way, and I tell people, and this is kind of funny, I don't know if I should say this. I'm not a big fan of hog mat. I'm just not a big fan of it. And if you look at his machines, they're 27 feet long. And if you've got to have something 27 feet long to capture gold, then something's got to be wrong to begin with. But what's funnier than hell, in the beginning of all his mat, there's that little piece right there up front that is miner's moss.
Right. Hey, remember I told you at the beginning, I said it's all about paying attention to what works and what doesn't work? There you go.
Well, I came into this hobby old school back with Buzzard, and all the talk when he used to talk about miner's moss, and when he'd get off the airport there in Nome, he would roll up the carpet there because that was miner's moss, and he needed it for out there at Nome, and so I just became a miner's moss person. I believed in that, and I've seen so many mats over the years, and everything captures gold. I mean, rocks, like you kind of mentioned, logs, everything will capture gold. It's just specific gravity, but
gravity is not just a neat idea, it's the law.
Okay, so we keep getting off track. So you got this gold cube that you decided you want to make.
Yeah.
And so I don't know where we got interrupted from of how you brought this to concept and why you did it for and all of that and to where it is right now. And you kept adding stuff to it.
Yeah, one of the things, once we got the base unit ready and all the bugs worked out of it, about the only bug we had in that was the water diverter. Like you were saying, you got one of the first 25, and it had paper clips that it held the plate down. We thought it was a good idea. In fact, it had miner's moss underneath that edge to help spread the water out. And that miner's moss had a backing on it, and that was actually 3M kitty litter mat. Hey, you know, it works. But we didn't take into consideration vegetation, and it would clog up pretty easy. So we had to change that. So we came up with basically the ability to fold the water. So it would come in the hole, and it would hit a plate, and then it would fold backwards, and then once it felt folded backwards, then it would have to roll back up and around, and then start down the tray. So all of that folding and bending spread it right out, and so we got a pretty good laminar flow going down the slick plate. So that was all trial and error and everything, and we found a whole lot of ways how not to do it, but we ended up finding a good way to do it. And then once we had that diverter perfected and it wasn't going to change anymore, then we went ahead and had it injection molded, so it would not have to worry about it coming apart, because we were riveting them together in the beginning. But once we had that figured out, then we went to the classification requirements. Everything had to be 1/8 of an inch or smaller. Actually, 6 mesh is the biggest that we could put in there, but there's no 6 mesh classifiers out there. So I said, well, we don't want 1/4, so let's go to 8. So we telling everybody 1/8 of an inch, and then the punch plate that we found was actually 3/16, which is 6 mesh. So the classifiers that we use for the gold banker, we can shovel right up on top of there and move everything around, and then after that, the same holes that we used in the trommel. Kelly at Gold Fox, he's got more sizes available if you want to put it on sluice boxes and stuff like that. But in the gold cube, a 3/16 or 6 mesh is the maximum size, and that's what all of our accessories utilize is that punch plate opening. The difference between the gold banker and the trommel has a lot to do with the material that you're actually going to be running. The trommel, it's going to be good for like river gravels and looser gravels, and it doesn't work well for beach mining, because you throw it in there, there's nothing to classify, and the whole beach mine shovelful will just run right into the cube, and then all of a sudden you're overloaded, and a few seconds later you're not overloaded. But during that overloaded time period, any gold that just couldn't find the mat is lost in your tailings. It had nothing to do with the gold cube being effective or not effective. It had everything to do with it being overloaded. Any machine will do that. Once you overload a machine, it's just a fun ride for your gold. And and once it recovers and gets down to where it can process again, then you'll start capturing gold again. So the real fine sands are not real. There's not a big advantage to using the trommel for those. The other thing that the trommel doesn't like is clay. It's not big enough. It's a little 5-inch barrel, about 20 inches long, is not enough time or energy to break up clay. So if you're in a real big clay situation, you can throw it in there and it's going to roll it around, but there's going to be a turd coming out the end. It's not going to work. So and the trommel, yeah, gold turds. That's right. But you know what the Germans call a turd?
No.
Just a little tiny piece of poop. Anyway, so we got all the gold that's in the clays and everything in the trommel, that you're gonna miss that stuff. So if you're in real fine heavy sand or in a situation where there's a lot of clay, the trommel will not excel. Now, if you're in a river gravels situation or bank gravels that everything is pretty loose, oh my God, you can go through so much material with a trommel. It is just amazing. You can go through a yard or a yard and a half in an hour, because the only thing that matters is a half a yard going into the gold cube. Everything else is big rocks. And if you can get rid of the big rocks with a trommel and only deal with just the fine material down inside of the gold cube, you're going to come out with a lot more gold. So it makes it pretty easy. But let's talk about the black sands and the clay, because the gold banker, it'll do everything. The only thing it won't do is it won't do it on its own. You got to put your hands in there and make sure everything is cleaned and pushed around and your rocks are clean and everything before you get rid of them. So it's totally manual, and the trommel is 12-volt motor. I mean, it's a mining partner that's not complaining is what it is. So the gold banker is amazing. It's the absolute most amazing device on the market that I've ever used to get clay. And what works so well with it is, think of a chicken gizzard. Okay, it's nothing but a bunch of rocks that are being used to grind stuff up in the crop of a chicken. All right, so that's what a chicken gizzard does. And if you do the exact same thing on the gold banker, leave a layer of rocks on the gold banker and throw your clay burden material up on there, even if it's blue lead clay, the stickiest, nastiest stuff you can find. And you just roll it around, just push it around in those rocks, and those rocks will grind it up. And then you use the water to like clean your rocks off. And then when all your rocks are clean, it's gone through the gold cube as a milk, basically, and it hasn't had a chance to recoagulate. Because when you try to break up clay in a bucket and use a paint mixer or something like that, what's going to happen is after about 2 or 3 scoops of feeding whatever machine you're feeding, everything is hardened back up again, and it needs to be remixed. But with the gold banker, as soon as it's ready to be run and liberate the gold, it's on its way through, and you don't have to touch it again. So when your rocks are clean, you throw more clay up there. Now with the beach sand, and I was just up on Lake Superior, and we did some beach mining up there. In fact, let's see here. Let's see. You see some gold there?
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so that's Lake Superior gold. It's really shiny stuff. But where am I? There I am. But anyway, that's some really shiny stuff. And the only way we can get that, it's you can only run about 4 buckets in an hour, because one bucket weighs about 200 pounds. And so we don't carry a bucket at a time. I shovel into a tub, and then I shovel out of the tub into the gold cube. So what we do on that is we take the gold banker and we flood it. We clog it up. Instead of having the gold banker up on an angle, we flatten it right out, and just barely any angle on it whatsoever. And then we'll just take and just put like 3 or 4 shovel loads right on top of the gold banker. And what's going to happen is it's going to clog it up. So the water starts collecting on the backside of the gold banker. And then as soon as it overflows that mound, it acts like a feeder. So now you've got an automatic feeder that is feeding just a certain amount of material as it can dissolve. So it becomes a feeder. So on the beach, by using the gold banker, instead of having to sit there and just cautiously take it with feather it on there with a scoop or whatever, you can just load that sucker up and then go get some more material. When you come back, it's still feeding. So it makes it really nice. So it's an amazing tool for on the beach. It's an amazing tool for the clay. It'll still do bank material and some good river gravels. It'll still do that, but everything is manual. That's the drawback to the gold banker. But yeah, so we just did that because I hate buckets. That's all.
Well, you're talking about trommels, like the trommel on the gold cube, the gold fox trommel. I've always said a trommel basically, and you said it, is just a classifier. Whether you're using a high banker to shovel in, rocks, water blowing on it, whether it's tumbling, it's just basically is a glorified classifier. But the other type of a trommel is the trommel that uses the reverse helix. Now that trommel, you can't overfeed it, or you're just going to get a bunch of crap come back at you. Like the javelina trommel. They tell you can't overfeed it. Or that outfit out of Texas, I think, that made them. You have to just like scoop it in to allow, for it to come back, or you're just going to get everything coming back at you. So
right, exactly. Yeah, when you get a trommel when the trommel's trying to do more than just be a wash plant and a classifier, then you have to make sure, just like what I was talking about overfeeding the gold cube. You have to create the paste that's going to be the most, here's a big word, efficacious.
I've never met a prospector that does slow and easy.
Yeah. Well, are you here for the workout or are you here for the gold? Come on now.
That's it. More dirt, more gold. Go.
No guts, no glory. Yeah, it's you can't outrun your machine. If you're outrunning machine, you're just throwing away gold. You're just going to make it real nice for the next person that comes in and goes through your pile that's nice and loose now. You just made it easy for them. And that 5% of the gold that you pulled out is going to be nothing compared to what they're going to get after you leave. So work smarter, not harder.
Up there on Gold Hill, where you said you found nuggets in the tailing piles and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There's two guys up there that, I think all the gold eventually from that hill made its way into that one wash. And once it made it into that wash, it was already beaten down where there was no more quartz on it. It just became the regular gold. But if you go up there now, from the bottom where that was, they've got a landing pad almost all the way up, where they went all the way up. So they moved a ton of material. And
they're taking dirt home with them too, weren't they?
No, they're running it right there. They're using the blue boys. What are they? The guys from Tucson. The blue trommels, hand trommels. Wilson Brothers.
Oh, the Wilson Brothers, right? Uh-huh.
So they're using a Wilson Brothers trommel thing to clean get the dirt trommeled down, and then they're hauling that to the dry washer. They were using the big 190, I think it is, whatever Keen's big dry washer is, the 190 or whatever that big one is. I think it's the 190.
The big Keen.
The dustless one.
Right.
So they had this huge pile up there of the dirt. So I thought, I just want to do a little video to go see, do dry washers lose any gold? And I ran that, and I just used one of the old puffer style dry washers from whatever, I don't even know what it is now, the Bill Thompson dry washer. And I couldn't believe the amount of gold that I got out of it. And I thought, oh my God, these guys, if they lost this much gold, how much did they get? And when he came to a club meeting, I showed him this gold. He said, I heard that you ran some of my tailings. I said, yeah, I'm going to show it to you. I said, dude, you must be finding a shitload of gold. And I showed it to him, and he says, we're not getting that much. I said, then you're running your dry washer wrong then.
Yeah.
And so
you need to back off, buddy.
Yeah. Well, on the keys, you're supposed to lift them up because, that's a pretty steep inside that. And so you got to lift that front end up. Well, they weren't. They were just blowing everything right out of there. So after I showed, man, they were back up on the hill running their tailings. Other people were going up there running their tailings. But I know why you got those pickers out of the dry wash tailings down in there.
Right. Yeah, I got like 4 or 5 of them out of there.
Yeah, so did other people going through up there. That
right.
They were
That's crazy.
up, man.
Yeah. Now, a lot of times, if you're running dry washing correctly, or even Gold Cube or whatever, if you're running it correctly, and you've got clumps in your material, sometimes those clumps will house a piece of gold. And then the next person that comes by maybe uses water after a dry wash, or maybe they soaked it a little longer and the clumps came apart, and then the gold is liberated. Now the gold can act like gold. So sometimes it's not the user's fault and it's not the machine's fault. It's the fact that nature didn't turn it loose yet. It's still in the clump. So if you're coming home with dry wash material, or material that looks like it might be clumped, make sure that you dissolve it or break it up or something before you run it again, because sometimes all it takes is just running it twice and giving it some more action to make it break apart. Because if a clump is only 1% gold, it's not going to act like gold. It's going to act like garbage. So it's going to get lost, and when it finally comes apart, someone's going to say, "Oh, your machine sucks because it's losing all this gold."
That's one of my famous people. It was so funny. I remember those guys he made dry washers. They used to go to Stanton a lot. I think he was in Texas. I forget the company name, and he used to talk about it. And I said, I have never ever met a manufacturer that ever told me, "Don't buy this. It really sucks." Randy Wilson, remember old he had the dry washers. Forget the name of his dry washer. Randy out here.
I'm not going to help you. I don't remember.
Randy Gold Duster. He had the Gold Duster.
Oh, okay. All right.
And then his brother came up with the thing that you feed the blue bowl and the whole contraption, scientific thing. But I told him, I said, I've never met a manufacturer that tells me don't buy this. It sucks, And
right.
They all say, "Oh, it doesn't lose any gold. It's 100%. I've tested it." It's like, yeah. But
well, I tell people, he says, "Will this thing lose gold?" And I says, "I guarantee it will." And it's like, what? I said, "But I guarantee you, after you figure out how much it loses, you're not going to waste your time going back after it."
That's it. So, and the same thing, dry washers. So let's say dry washers only get 85% is all you're going to get dry washing. So that means you're going to, let's say dry washers get 80%, make math easier. So if you're getting 80% and you're losing 20%, some people say, well, I'm running it twice. So you're going to get another 80% of the 20% you lost. You might as well just run virgin material and get more 80%,
Yeah, if you're home and that's all you got. Yeah, if you're home and that's all you got, go ahead and run it 100 times. I don't care. But if you've got access to this huge pile of virgin material, then get on that pile. Leave your pile alone.
I used to have a buddy that used to say, "I don't look back. If it's behind me, it's yours. I'm shoveling and I'm going."
When we had the gyro bowl up there at Dave Turin's mine, I was on set like 5 times, during that season. And we were looking at some of the material that was back there, and talking about all the stuff that made it into the tailing pond and everything. And he goes, "Mike," he says, "I'm not going to go after that. He says, I'm going to bulldoze every bit of that." And I said, "Why? There's some good gold in there." He says, "Yeah, but," he says, I'm barely making it happen right now at $18 a yard." I said, "And if I'm losing half my gold, I can't make it happen at $9 a yard."
Yeah.
I says, "Well, that makes total sense. I mean, it's a shame. It's a shame all that gold's in there, but you can't make it pay you back. What you have to do is get it on your first time through, and then don't worry about it." One of the worst oxymorons on earth that I ever heard was acceptable loss.
Well, I know you don't want to lose gold, so you have to try to run your equipment the most efficient way possible.
like the dry washer guys. I mean, they were running it way too steep. You know, if they're running it steep like that, then they're going to have to make sure that they either learn their lesson or pay attention to the old timers that are telling you they're running it too steep, and then back your blower off and run it a little flatter and try different ways and see what see what it is.
Same with the wet system too. You could blow the material out. You know, if you're running water through there and yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, and it doesn't matter. Like all the way down from like a regular gold pan, or what my CEO in Gyro Gold says, all the way up to a God-sized gold pan. 7 feet in diameter. It's like, holy crap. It doesn't matter what the size of the pan. You've got to pay attention to what it's doing. You got to pay attention to your results. You got to pay attention to the process in the middle. You got to pay attention to what the water looks like, feels like, acts like. You got to pay attention to all that, because it may be trying to tell you something like really important, like, you dumbass, you're losing gold. So you have to pay attention.
I want to give away a prize.
Let's do that.
Okay. I got a 3D printed gold pan with some real gold in there.
Woohoo!
Well, it's leaf gold, but leaf gold is real gold,
That's real.
Did you see the video where I was putting pennies on the railroad track, and for kicks and giggles, I put a little nugget on there to see what would happen?
Yeah, I didn't see that one.
Oh, it turned it to leaf, and I had to scrape it off. I thought I was just going to flatten it, make it where it was like a penny. Oh, it leafed it. It just destroyed it. I thought, what a waste. Anyways, 3D printer. So here's a question, Mike. You can look in the chat room too. First one that can get this one right, you got to live in the United States too. I don't want to ship this over to China or nothing like that. So you got to live in the lower 48. So, okay, here's the question. First one that gets this right. Earlier, Mike said, tell me what he said was the most nastiest stuff around. He said something was the most nastiest stuff around.
Are you talking about nastiest?
What you said there was something that was the most nastiest stuff around. I just sent you a message. Oh, somebody already got it.
With that blue clay?
Yeah, looks like Daniel Grubb, I think, looked like the first one. Thomas got it. Donkey Engineering got it, but I think Daniel Grubb was the first one that got that.
Yeah, I think so.
Blue clay. I was just seeing if anybody was paying attention or not.
Hell, I didn't even got that one wrong. I was like, nastiest. I know Lake Superior Gold was the hardest stuff that I've ever gotten to get. The nasty blue clay, yeah.
Yeah, you said the nastiest stuff is the blue lead clay. So is that the same stuff as? Hey, Daniel, make sure you send me your shipping address, and I'll send that out to you. Is what you're talking about, that blue lead clay? Like, you hear the old timers, they always say follow the blue clay.
Yeah, that's the stuff.
So why would you want to follow the blue clay for?
Well, the blue clay, they call it blue lead. That's the latest episode of False Bedrock, and everything that's in the matrix of the gold bearing material, as that material has decomposed, it creates that clay. I mean, it's comprised of a lot of the quartz and a lot of the other stones from the area. So that blue lead, if the bluer it is, the better mineralization was in the stuff that got ground up to get set in there. So that sat on the bottom, and the gold would actually set on that blue lead as a false bedrock. And when you get into that blue lead, if you take a slice of it with your shovel, you look at how far the gravel has gone through the blue lead. And if it's gone through, let's say it's only gone an inch and a half down in there, and you've got like 2 feet of this blue lead clay, sometimes it can get real thick like that. If your gravels have gone an inch and a half, then you double that. You go to 3 inches, and that's the 3 inches that you're going to be have the most gold in. The rest of it may have a little bit, but the most of your gold is going to be in the gravel or twice as far as the gravel was able to reach. So that's the blue lead, and usually when you find the blue lead, that's when they start working their way uphill to find the source of the material that actually made the blue lead. So it was a great indicator, clay, that you're into a really good area.
So if you're digging down, like let's say you're in a wash, and this is what I've always thought or told people, if you're digging down and you hit a clay layer, whether it be red clay or gray or whatever, but you hit this soft clay layer, and my understanding is this was once upon a time bedrock, and over time it just decomposed basically and turned into clay. So you're right, if you took that top layer off where the gold would have settled in the cracks, as it decomposed, it's right there. After that, then it's just garbage stuff.
Right. Well, the clay doesn't necessarily mean it used to be bedrock. At that point, that clay arrived, it became bedrock, a false bedrock. Now, up in the northeast, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, New York, Pennsylvania, all of that whole zone in there that the glaciers came in. They had glaciers that came through there in different episodes. They had most of those states got both sets of glaciers 10,000 and 30,000 years ago. The glacial outflow created a till which formed the bedrock, the clay layer. All right, so once you bust through the first clay layer, you can almost bet that there's going to be another clay layer. And those clay layers were not created by bedrock. They're created by all the rocks that the glacier ground up and then deposited once it started to melt 10,000 and then 30,000 years ago. So obviously something big happened. And like in that area, it's glaciers. The ice age. In California and stuff like that, there are and were also glaciers that did a lot of grinding and moving. There's going to be some areas in some of the mountains up there that rivers have changed direction. The change in direction creates a change that could cause silting and grinding and some more of that blue lead clay. And sometimes it's baby crap yellow. Sometimes it's like gray. But the blue has the right mineralization that will give you the best outcome as far as gold goes. So that's why they call it the blue lead, because that blue will lead you to the gold. Once you've got an episode that has caused that to happen, then you can use that information to know what direction to go. Here's another thing. Remember, I just mentioned that sometimes rivers have changed directions. If you've ever dug down, let's say that they put a road in, all right? They cut a road through a mountain because they didn't want to create an overpass or a bridge or whatever. So they just basically stripped the mountain away. And then you see in the different layers that they cut away, it looks like there's an old river channel. Okay? If you look at the rocks in those old river channels, you're going to see that most of the rocks are going to be round on one side, and they're going to be starting to create like a smaller section. It's going to go from, nice and round, and then it's going to come up into a point. It's going to come up into like an egg. Okay? Now, all these rocks are going to be laid on each other. and the egg points the direction of the flow. Okay, so the round part of the rock got wedged in there, and then the sands and everything started working away and creating a point on that rock. All right, so as the sand is being pushed across it, when the water was actually flowing, that's what's pushing it and starting to eat away at the top part of the rock. So you could tell the direction, even though, let's say that your river channel is on an angle like that. That doesn't mean that the water was flowing down this way. That means that, like an earthquake, it used to be this way, and then the earthquake or a tectonic plate rise or something made it change directions. So don't go by the angle that you're looking at. Don't go by the angle that you're seeing on the side of the cut. Look at the rocks and look what direction they're pointed, because that's going to tell you what direction that it actually flowed. Because all of your low pressure zones are going to be different if you get the flow wrong, and you're going to be looking in the wrong spots for where the gold's supposed to settle out. You're going to be looking in all the wrong spots if you got the flow 180 degrees swapped. So look at the rocks, and the rocks will actually point the direction of the flow. So don't think the water's going to flow uphill, because that river was probably pushed that direction after it quit running. So that was just I learned that in a river cut in Colorado, in Nucla, Colorado. And it was a really cool cut, and I was looking at some low pressure zones and everything, and and then Paul McCarr, a friend of mine, he comes up and he goes, "Nope." He says, "You're looking at it wrong." I said, "What are you talking about?" He says, "That's not the direction it flows." I said, "It's high over there and it's low over here. It's got to flow that way." He goes, "Not today, it doesn't." He says, "You got to think about." You got to look at it when it was flowing, not what it looks like now. So the rocks will tell you what direction it was flowing.
No, that I never really heard that before. That's an interesting concept. But I know what you're talking about when you're driving down the highway and you look over when you're going through the cut of the mountains, and you can see sometimes you see the bands in them, how the different layers.
Oh yeah, it's cool.
That it was a river once. But now here's another theory too. So if somebody comes up to me and they say, "Where do I find gold at? I'm in this wash." Well, I just say follow the rocks. If one side of the wash is all mud layer like, and the other side has all your rocks in it, I'd dig in the rock layer. I wouldn't go in the mud layer, because mud, there's no rocks. You got to have rocks to have gold.
Right. Yeah, and that's true. Most of the time when you're looking down a channel, you can pretty much point a straight line through a river, even though it's winding back and forth and everything. If you point a straight line down through the middle of the river, every place that it crosses a ledge or whatever, wherever it's crossing, you can pretty much, those are going to be your hot spots. You're going to find out when you do that's going to be where your gravels are going to be. You'll be able to point at all the gravel bars all the way down through there. Okay, so yeah, bigger rocks, bigger gold. You're going to have some like around the mud. That was the easiest stuff to collect. So that's going to be on the inside, way inside the bend. And the farther you get into the current, the bigger the material gets. And if you take a metal detector in there, you'll find out that all of a sudden the black sands will start. So you can follow the band of black sand that is, from an inside bend and working your way into the current. You can find a band of black sand in there just by the mineralization numbers or whatever on your detector, or the fact that you can't keep your detector shut up. So it's those bands are going to be where your gold's going to be as well in the stream itself. But when you're looking at a river, though, you got to think of today. You got to think of a 50-year flood, a 100-year flood, a 200-year flood. You've got to think about where's your low pressure zones if we're in an absolutely raging river, because it's the raging rivers that will create your gold drops. And when that river is raging, it's not going left and right like what you see down at the bottom. It's going straight through. And that's why I say when you draw a straight line through there, you're going to be able to find out a lot of your gold is going to be on that straighter line because it had no choice because the river was raging during the time that there was enough power to move that gold. And then you start getting in the recollections. That's where you start getting into your gravels and stuff like that. And those are the places that straight line shot through there during the 100, 200-year floods. Those straight line shots, they're going to be starting to recollect at the gravel areas. So the gravel areas are real good. Chase your black sands, and you're going to get a lot of your finer gold in through there. But it's usually the straight line. You look at your sides way up the bank, and if you got a straight line through there, then you almost don't need to pay attention to what's happening in the stream. You take the center, and you take and then you start looking for your gravels in the center line, because if go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I've always said that, yeah, if you look up above and you see the S turns, once upon a time, that flowed straight. And as the water receded, it started taking the path of least resistance. It started taking these little S curves. So if it like made a bend, once upon a time, that went straight. So instead of digging over there, dig down where that straight line would have been to get into the trade lane.
Yeah, and I always talk about impact zones as well, because I mean you're going to have places that the water gets slow and gold drops out, but when the water is just kicking butt, I mean looking for a ramp with animals lined up 2 by 2. I mean if the rain's just coming, then it's going to go as straight as it can until it runs into something, and then if it can turn, it will. But if it can't, then it's just going to fall straight down. So you look for impact zones. So and think of high water and think of impact zones, and you're gonna find your bigger gold is going to be in those types of areas.
Well, what about, I remember one of the Massies saying, like in a river, if you're dredging, for instance, if you're in a stream or a river, you put a balloon in the water, and the balloon is going to go to the center, the gut of the stream, and that's where you're going to dredge at, is in the gut of the stream.
Yeah, and that's a now thing. That's what's happening now. What I like to do is use Google Earth, and I can go through. Most of the time, you can get pictures all the way back to about 1980s, and you can see what that river has done over the last 30, 40, 50 years. And you can see it used to flow way off to the right, and now it's flowing clear off to the left. You can see that it got a massive flood, and it moved a huge rock from this area downstream to somewhere else. And if that rock is brand new there's probably not much gold under it, but where the rock used to be, there may be a crack or crevice under there that's loaded with gold. But you're not going to be able to see that when your boots are on the ground. You can only see that with an advantage like Google Earth. So those are things that I always do when I go into a claim. I try to look at the claim with Google Earth before I get there and come up with a plan.
I know, like, okay, some people say like they're walking down a creek or something, they dig behind the rock. You know, that's in theory is true. But yet, years ago or during the rage, that rock wasn't there. And so, you know, and it's like, I remember at Stanton, you know, Antelope Creek right there below there. At the northern end, they had this huge rock. It was bigger than my truck that I remember sitting on one time and doing filming and talking. And yet a couple years later, I went back there. That rock was further down. We're talking a huge ass rock.
It's like, how in the world did that get moved?
So the rage of that water, you know what it's doing to the smaller stuff.
Oh yeah, it's just wiping it out, and then the bigger stuff is getting dragged along. But you have to have that power in order to move nuggets. Otherwise, all you're going to do is get your flood gold moving, and it moves because it's flat and it likes to kite. So yeah, it's the more you look into the depth of the power of the river, the more you'll get bigger gold. Otherwise, if you're just going to be there a short time, then you need to find your low pressure zones and get as much of the flood gold as you can.
All right. Once you answer this question, we'll start wrapping things up here. Terry wants to know what's new on the drawing board.
Well, we've got a couple new things out here. I got all the components for a new classifying system. You know, the little, like the little 3-inch classifiers that you can stack up, and you just keep going until you can't reach your arms that far anymore. They've got a bunch of those out there. Well, I had trouble getting them, so I decided to make my own. Now, what this does is you take a jar and then another jar, and then you got a ring in the middle that you can put a classifier in, and you screw them together. So now you got 2 jars that you can see through with a screen in the middle. So you can just shake it all into there, and it's not going to dust out, and you're not going to lose everything. So, so that's what we've come up with. We've come up with a jar system that you can change out the screens. We've got 15 sizes of screen. We've got 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 30, 50, 70, 100, 200, and 400 mesh. Did you get all that?
Yeah. It's good. It's good for sizing your gold too, so you can just put all your gold in there and size it.
Absolutely. Sometimes when you're selling gold, you can get a better price for it because someone may be doing pay dirt or something like that wants a particular size. And so sizing your gold, preparing your concentrates to, the golden rule is everything's the same size, gold rules. So the more classifications you can get, especially if you've got some really hard, like you got some titanium or you got some platinum or you got a bunch of lead in there. I mean, the better size difference that you can make, the easier it's going to be to get your gold away from that other garbage. So it's going to be a huge benefit. Now we've got our cleanup kit that's got 16, 30, 50, and 100. And so instead of having those 4 different sizes all piled up, we're going to have the 2-jar system that you'll be able to change those screens out. And so that's going to be the first thing it's going to go into. But we're going to sell the Pro Pack that's got the 15, the basic pack that's got 4, and then you can choose whatever sizes you want. So that's one thing that we've got, and we're going to have I don't even have the labels for that thing yet, so it's not on the website or anything. It's going to be a couple weeks, and then it'll be on there. So just keep track of goldcube.net, and you can pick those up. I'll put them on my Facebook page as well. But we've also got a medium pick now. People that watched your videos, Jack, they've seen you wander around with that big 36-inch handle pick.
Yeah, I was going to tell you, somebody asked me the other day, where'd you get that pick at? And I told them Mike Pung.
Yeah. Again, it's just a question of me making for me what I want. So we got those picks, and then we also came up with a little Crevicer Pick. It's got like a little spoon end on one side, and it's got a nice point on the other. The whole thing is made out of steel, so it's real rigid, and you don't have to worry about it floating away if you're using it for crevicing in the water or whatever. And then we come up with a brand new pick. It's our 19-inch. We call it the Sidewinder, and it has a steel handle as well. It's instead of using tubular steel like a lot of people do, we used a pipe instead, so it's heavier. It's not real heavy, but it's not real light either, and it's got a 2-handed foam grip on it, so you can actually get 2 hands on the foam, so that any of the impact, because of the fact that it's such a solid pick, any of that impact is easily absorbed into that foam, so it's not going to rattle your teeth. And so it's we had it at 3 of them at the Pomona show. I didn't have the foam handles in yet, but I had enough from the sample foam handles to put 3 of them together. And I took them to the Pomona show, and they sold in 30 minutes. So it's a good size, it's a good feel, and when people see them, they'll like them. So I think that's going to be pretty hot commodity there.
So you better send me some. So I better have a few of them here, and I better have one for me to use. So
yeah.
You better have to put a package together for me.
There you go. Yeah, you need to get out there and start picking some holes open and getting me some nuggets.
Yeah, people are really they get on me. Sometimes I don't use a pick at all, like in mead view, because you're only digging down a few inches to caliche, and that's generally so. I don't always carry a pick. I just carry a scoop with me, and I just scoop it down. And people like, give that guy a pick, somebody,
Yeah, I hope you break your scoop. Here, take this pick. Yeah. It's
you got any there? Thomas wants to know if he can see one. You got any there to show?
Nope, I don't. I'll put a picture of one on my Facebook page. As soon as we're off of this thing, I'll go ahead and make a post of of all three of the picks. I happen to have a picture of them, but I don't know how I can show you a picture on this thing we call a cell phone.
Well, put them on on my page, the Gold Fever Radio page.
Okay.
Where we are here. So yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'll put them there, and I'll also put them on my page. So Mike Pung on Facebook. But yeah, okay, I'll. Okay.
No, I was gonna say. So if anybody wants to get a hold of you, your channels, your Facebooks, how do they go about all that?
Okay, our website is goldcube.net, and the big green bowl, the gyro bowl, that's gyro gold, GYRO gold.com. If you're into commercial mining, so if you want more gold, you want your commercial mine to pay off finally, give me a call on the gyro. And then on the Facebook, it's just Mike Pung for Facebook, and we have a Gold Cube channel as well. But otherwise, you can call our 800 number. It's 800-649-0256. Or call me personally if you want to. It's 405-650-0542 if you need some help with an invention or if you need help digging some nuggets out. I'll be glad to come help you out.
I need help with all of them. I got an invention.
Yeah, it digs nuggets.
Well, yeah, it takes a shovel, and and I need a nugget, but yeah, your Gold Cube. I mean, there is one. They pimping my Gold Cube, where a lot of people post different things about. Gold Cube. Yeah,
well, another page we've got Pimp My Gold Cube, and it's for Gold Cube users that are doing fun things with their Gold Cube. We had one of our members there he built a stand that encompasses wheelchair wheels, so he can put it all together and rickshaw this wheelchair thing out with all of his Gold Cube batteries and all that other stuff on there. It's really cool. And while we were on the beach, I was up there in Lake Superior, and he was Kurt George is his name. And while we were up there, this young woman sketched us on the beach, us getting gold. And it was the coolest sketch, and I'll post that as well because it really caught the moment. It was like I was blown away that she was able to capture the moment like that. It was like a watercolor and sketch type thing, but it was really cool.
Years ago, I don't know if I ever told you, there used to be a guy that lived out here, and he was big into mining, and I always told him he created the dustless dry washer, because he had taken dry washer and he put a sheet over it, to keep the dust down. So I said, that was, you were way before Keen ever came out with their thing. But one time I went over there and he had like three of them, they were latraps. He had like three of them, a long thing set all the way down. And then at the bottom, and it had a tub at the bottom. And I go over to his place one day while he's running material in there. And for the hell of it, I just scooped out of his bottom there and panned it. And there was gold in there. And I said, dude, you're losing gold. And he said, no way, And I said, dude, you're losing gold. And he had like, I think it was a 4 stack Gold Cube. So I just took not the top, the slick one, but I took one of the other ones and I put it at the bottom of that thing. So when it comes down, it probably wasn't set up angled right. And so then he cleaned it all out. And he says, you're right. But he says, the Gold Cube caught the gold that the latrap blew out. Now, why it was blowing it out, that we don't know. but he was blowing out gold. 3 of them he had set up.
Huh.
And he was blowing gold out.
You either have it set up right or you don't have it set up right. And if you don't have it set up right, the third one's not going to be any better than the first one.
It may have been too much angle. It may have been too fast to water.
Yeah, it could have been any number of things.
I just remember he was losing. Anyways, all right, Mike, before we let you go, I got to ask you one final question.
Yeah.
Anybody just starting out in this hobby, what's the best piece of advice you could give them?
Take up needlepoint. No. No, I tell everybody this. Number one, don't go out and just buy a bunch of stuff. I don't care how good the hype is on the sites and everything. Don't go buy a bunch of stuff. Get with a club, whether it's a GPAA club, if it's a local club like in your area, they got the Road Runners and they got the Metal Detector Club there at Quartzsite. I mean, join a club and talk to the people that are doing it. And then the most important thing that you can do, you've heard the saying, all prospecting starts with a pan and ends with a pan. You need to get good with a pan. So buy some pay dirt. Don't worry about the return. All you want to do is be able to experience real gold and keep practicing. Just wear that gold out practicing and develop your own technique and pay attention to what the old timers tell you at the clubs and stuff like that. Most of them are looking for some young buck to go out with them and help them out there in the field. Join up with those guys, get out there and learn everything you can. And then once you've got that experience and a little bit of knowledge, then start buying your equipment. But don't buy it right away. Just pay attention to the people in the clubs and learn how to pan.
Yeah, if you need to buy equipment, come and see me. I'll sell you all the equipment you want.
Hey, you don't even care if you're into needlepoint.
Well, I always tell people the first piece of equipment you ought to buy is a recirculator. Whether it be like a cube, a geosluice, whatever, the first thing you should buy is a recirculator out here in Arizona. Because if it's wet, you can still run it. If it's dry, you can still run it. You can bring dirt home from the desert, sit there and run it. You can't haul that dry washer when it's wet. The dry washer would be your second bet, but the first thing should be a recirculator. Yeah,
it's a lot of fun when I'm on the road. I ask who's up in Washington, Portland, Oregon. I ask them who's done any dry washing, and no hands go up.
No. That's like when we went back to Georgia and Carolinas, did that boot camp, we had the dry washer, and it's amazing. Those people never even heard of a dry washer.
It's like, what the hell would you do that for? Put some water in there.
But out here, they work awesome.
Yeah, zone specific.
Yeah. Hey, we appreciate you stopping by, taking some time, hanging with us. You're always a great guest, full of knowledge. We appreciate you, man.
Well, thanks for having me.
All right. So you guys all take care, and till we meet again, I'm going to hit our final song, and we're out of here. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, guys. Until next week, you guys all be safe. Take care, and watch out.
Get up, everybody, there's nothing to lose. The boss has had you working like a fine mule, but the weekend's here, it's time to let out a yell. Let yourself go, people, let me tell you, there's nothing else like it when you're out here feeling this good. Everyone wants to go. Everyone wants to go. It's all about getting out, and it doesn't even matter if we're finding gold. 'Cause everybody wants to go to my dredging hole. The gold rush days are here. I'm scratching and digging, looking for a bigger man who loves that country air. And the feeling that I'm getting, no other compares. What I'd like to do is find a nugget or two, but it's all good when I'm here in the woods. Everyone wants to go. Everyone wants to go. It's all about getting out, and it doesn't even matter if we're finding the gold. 'Cause everybody wants to go to my dredging hole. Out, I nice as a bag of ice. Break off a piece of this paradise. Got a hammock tied up to a couple of trees, swinging back and forth to the sound of the leaves. Everyone wants to go. Everyone wants to go. It's all about getting out, you know, and it doesn't even matter if we're finding the gold. 'Cause everybody wants to go tonight, you know. Everyone wants to go. Everyone wants to go. It's all about getting out, you know, and it doesn't even matter if we're finding